What do you do?
I work for an organization called the International Center for Migration Policy Development. It's an international organization with headquarters here in Vienna. And I work as research officer for our anti-trafficking program. So we work on combating human trafficking at various different countries and regions in the world.
What drove you into this field?
Some time back, when I was still in university, I did a short summer project working with basically doing summer activities with children whose parents were asylum applicants and were waiting for their decision on asylum. And I started to understand more about the context of migration and refugee policy in Europe, and felt very strongly as an EU citizen that I didn't agree with how people were treated. As I was doing research at the time, I started to think that what I would like to do is do research on these topics and to try to influence policy in order to improve the situation.
What is your greatest source of energy?
I suppose the simple answer would be people, would be in my experience of living in different countries and traveling for work to different countries and working with different people. It's a really fascinating experience, and I think it's quite tiring, but it also gives me energy because I see, when you want to improve things in the world, it's wonderful to see that you're not alone, that there are so many other people who also have similar objectives. And to see the extent to which I think it's energizing, both to see how much we all have in common as human beings, regardless of where in the world we come from and what our situation is, but also to see the huge difference and diversity. So I think both sides of that are very energizing for me.
What was your most impressive childhood experience?
Maybe it's kind of a negative thing, but I grew up in Ireland at a time in the 1980s when Ireland was a very monocultural society where almost everybody, looked similar, and everybody was Catholic. And my family was different. We were not religious, and there were a lot of difficulties related to that because the school system was very much run by the church, and because the standard was that everybody was Catholic. And I think that for me that was a very important experience to understand what it's like to be the outsider and to be marginalized. And I think now, in a positive sense, that still influences my approach to my work and to my life, is to understand, not to assume that everybody's the same, or to assume people fit with certain stereotypes, but to always be aware that some people might not feel included.
What is the best advice you've received?
The most important advice would probably came from my parents originally, in terms of just trusting yourself, having confidence in yourself, even when you don't feel it's justified, even when you feel unsure, to still act as though you're confident, and act as though you have faith in yourself until that becomes the truth.
If it's not the same, what is the best advice you can give?
I think the advice that I would give is to trust other people, is to understand that everywhere in the world there's always going to be like a small minority of people who don't mean well, but that in general, I think people are far too distrusting. With my work, I travel to countries and contexts that are maybe known for, or are considered as dangerous, or are considered as unstable, or situations where there's conflict. And then when I go there, I always find that my perception was wrong, and that actually the majority of people I meet are very nice, peaceful people who all want what everybody wants. And so I think my advice would be, of course, without being naive, to trust other people more.
What would you like to achieve in this lifetime?
What I want to achieve is not something that I could ever achieve on my own. So all I've ever wanted is to be a part of a community of people, or a loose network, to change things for the better. I think specifically in the sense of combating discrimination. So I suppose what I want to achieve is to be part of the processes that we go through as a entire human civilization of reducing inequalities and reducing discrimination against all of the various different groups who experience it. I could be more concrete in terms of working on migration. That's what I would like to achieve. I would like to be part of achieving is that 100 years from now, we look back on the way in which we treat people differently based on their nationality or their passport or their immigration status. And that to us seems just as offensive and just as disgusting as discriminating against people, for example, on the basis of their skin color.
What brings us together?
Food, I would say, because I think it's something that everybody can enjoy, and we all need it. And I think it brings us back to childhood memories, and we have certain associations of different foods with different experiences in different places. So I think eating together is something that definitely brings people together.
What makes us human?
I think what makes us human is empathy, is the ability that we have to basically put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, so that, you know, most humans, I think, have the capacity to think, well, I'm not going to judge this other person because I don't know what it's like to be in their situation, and I want to understand more. So I think empathy is something that really is a capacity that we have, and that we could use more.
What is the most courageous decision you've made?
I would say probably moving to a different country, to a country where I didn't know anyone, where I didn't know the city that I was moving to. I didn't know anybody that I would be working with. And so basically leaving behind everything that I knew and my entire comfort zone, everything I felt familiar with, and moving to somewhere where I didn't speak the language and I didn't know what to expect, and didn't have this support network. But it was only courageous the first time, because then I did it repeatedly throughout my life, and it became easier each time, even though each time it's quite intimidating.
What is your strongest conviction?
I think that every human being deserves the same rights.
What does home mean to you?
It's a very difficult one, because I don't think ever in my life I felt that home was a specific geographical location. So it's always something that I have to build up around me in any place that I've lived. So I think home is really represented by people rather than a place. So family members and friends, and friends who have become like family members. A friend said to me once that when you live in a different country, that's when your friends really become your family. And I think that's how I think of home. That means for me that I have homes in many different places, which, although I don't feel what some people feel, to have that home is in a specific location, I do have many places in the world where I feel at home.
What role does spirituality play in your life?
Spirituality is a concept I don't even understand. It doesn't play any role in my life because I don't need it. I believe in people. I believe in the good and the happiness that you can find in this very concrete physical world. And so I've never felt spirituality, but I also don't feel an absence of it. I don't feel the need for it. The physical, tangible world that we have makes me happy enough.
Who are you?
I am a migrant. I am a woman, and I'm someone who feels very much part of a very large family, because I don't distinguish between people from different countries and different places, but I feel a sense of sisterhood, I think, with men and women everywhere in the world. So I'm a member of a very, very large family.
What's your name? And if you know, what does it mean?
My full name is Claire Deborah Healy. I'm not sure actually where I got my first name from. I know that my middle name, Deborah, is because I was named after Debbie Harry from Blondie. And my last name is most of people whose families originate in Ireland. We have, our names come from Gaelic names in the Irish language. So it was O'Healy. And then in the process of British colonization, they were anglicized, so it became Healy.